Now on Sunrise and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Where you're looking at the aftermath of targeted strikes on the Gaza Strip by the Israeli Defense Forces, we have the latest. And the race for Speaker getting even more chaotic this morning after Republican nominee for the position, Steve Scalise, dropped out of the race yesterday. We're monitoring the developments on Capitol Hill. Turning now to Victoria County, 3 men appeared in a court on assault charges this week. This man convicted in a 2022 sexual assault of a woman. We had the sentences handed down by the judge.
And once again, take a look at the temperatures around the region this morning, starting off in the 70s with a very humid feel. But a front comes through tomorrow, which will bring back the cool, drier, and very fall-like air. Could we see lows in the 50s coming up? I think we could, and we'll talk about that coming up in your full forecast.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolina Astrain.
Trey Mining here.
And today it's the 13th day, Friday the 13th.
Ooh, a little spooky.
Spooky of October 2023. Let's see, it is 6:31 on our Friday morning, and on this day in 1950, the film All About Eve, which is a horror movie of its own kind, it premiered on this day in 1950 in New York and Paris. And
very nice.
A fun fact about All About Eve, it was based on a true story.
Interesting.
Yeah, Betty Davis.
I've heard that.
Does a great job in that movie.
It's fantastic. True classic by all means, definitely.
Oh yeah, true classic. So Trey, we're looking at some pretty classic weather.
Very classic weather, and a classic eclipse coming up tomorrow too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
A lot of classics to look forward to. All right, starting off in the 70s this morning and near 80 degrees along the coast. So it's a bit on the humid side, so the humidity's returned only temporarily because the front tomorrow will push that out of the way and bring us back to fine fair fall weather. I'm trying to say that's it. All right, let's take a look at the school bus forecast. 72 degrees at the bus stops this morning for the kids headed to school. Dress cool for school today. Definitely going to be a hot day. And why? Because we have that heat in place and that moisture off the Gulf of Mexico. 90 degrees by the time we get to the bus stops at 3:30 in the afternoon or so. Take you on back home. So drink plenty of water, find some shade while they're waiting for the bus to come pick you up. The feel-like temperatures throughout the day, yes, we're still dealing with a bit of a heat index value. By the time we get to the afternoon time, 94, 95 degree heat index value around the region. So this is still on the hot side. So of course, as I say, be careful out there if you're waiting on that. And here is the football forecast for the night. Crossroads Football Live comes up tonight after the 10 p.m. news. And the featured game, Industrial Cobras versus the Indy Cowboys in Industrial Stadium. Kickoff at 7:30. Cloudy skies, the partly cloudy skies. Should be pretty nice though. A few high clouds in the distance, that's all. 85 degrees, so dress cool if you're going to the game and have fun cheering on your favorite team. What about our forecast for the weekend, eclipse, and next week's forecast? Got it covered coming up a little bit later on. Carolina?
Thank you, Trey. An Israeli airstrike hit several neighborhoods in the Gaza Strip Thursday, destroying the Social Welfare Center for Vocational Training building. This attack was part of retaliation by Israel following recent attacks by Hamas. Over the past week, the skies above Gaza have witnessed an unprecedented barrage from Israeli warplanes. The consequent destruction is staggering, with the Gaza Health Ministry reporting over 1,400 people killed and over 6,000 wounded. Gaza is only 25 miles long, wedged among Israel, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea. The war, which has claimed more than 2,700 lives on both sides, is expected to escalate. We'll go to Washington for the latest later on Sunrise. New turmoil on Capitol Hill being described as dysfunction and utter chaos. Congressman Steve Scalise, the man nominated to become the next Speaker of the House, suddenly pulled out last night after failing to secure enough votes. So what happens now with the House still paralyzed?
Day 10 on Capitol Hill without a Speaker of the House, and this morning, new questions about who can unite the Republican Party after Majority Leader Steve Scalise suddenly withdrew from the race to replace Kevin McCarthy.
But there's some folks that really need to look in the mirror over the next couple of days and decide, are we going to get it back on track? Are they going to try to pursue their own agenda? You can't do both.
Scalise won the nomination this week, but some House members have voiced concerns about his health as he battles blood cancer. Critics also questioned some of his moves behind the scenes. Overnight, ABC's Rachel Scott speaking with Scalise.
He met with Republicans behind closed doors twice today for a few hours, and he left with less support than he had when he initially walked in. And of course, all of this comes just about a week after Kevin McCarthy was ousted by a handful of members of his own party, along with Democrats.
The House has been paralyzed without a leader, unable to pass new aid for Israel, frustrating many lawmakers, including the Republican conference. And now, adding to the chaos, the man Scalise beat for the nomination, Congressman Jim Jordan, a conservative firebrand, who appears to be throwing his name back in the ring. Sources say he's working the phones asking for support.
We're going to be this conference. I think we will come together behind the candidate and then move forward for the good of the country.
Despite the turmoil, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who was instrumental in ousting McCarthy as Speaker, saying he doesn't regret his position.
People say it's chaos here just because the special interests don't have a unified way to control everything. I have no regrets.
In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
Republicans will meet again this morning to try to find consensus. They've already met for about 12 hours. One House member said right now the Lord Jesus himself couldn't get the 217 votes needed to become Speaker. Thousands of workers at Ford's largest plant walked off the job Wednesday, halting production of pickup trucks and SUVs. The United Auto Workers said that 8,700 union members joined the strike after Ford refused to move further in contract bargaining. In a statement, UAW President Shawn Fain said the union is tired of waiting for Ford to deliver a fair contract since the strike began September 15th. The walkout is considered a warning to General Motors and Chrysler parent company Stellantis, as their wage offers are lower than Ford, per the UAW. A man has learned his fate for the 2022 sexual assault of a Victoria woman. 42-year-old Larry Nunez was sentenced to 20 years in state prison Wednesday in a Victoria County courtroom. Nunez will also serve a concurrent 15-year sentence for the manufacturing and delivery of a controlled substance, a crime he committed in October of 2022, 5 months after the assault. Another man sentenced Wednesday by a Victoria County judge. This suspect found guilty of aggravated sexual assault of a child. 58-year-old George Morales will spend the next 15 years in a Texas state prison. Morales first committed the crime in June of 2021. A man had his day in court Thursday, appearing before a Victoria County judge in yet another assault case. 37-year-old Trenton Taylor of Victoria was handed down a 4-year sentence for his role in an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Taylor was accused and convicted of pointing a firearm at a Victoria woman while assaulting her last May. If going fishing is in your weekend plans, don't forget your bait and hooks. Here's Sports Director Gino Perez with what you can expect to catch out on the water.
Grab your poles, Crossroads. It's time to go fishing. Down in the Matagorda Bays, fishing for redfish has improved now that the tides are higher and there's an abundance of shrimp in the bay. The forecasted cold front should improve the trout bite, and there continues to be a good night bite for trout in the Colorado River. In Port O'Connor, redfish are good at the ends of the jetties using Spanish sardines, cut bait, or dead shrimp. In Rockport, speckled trout are good in 2 to 4 feet of water over grass and sand on live bait, topwaters, and soft plastics. Good luck and be safe out there. That's your 25 Sports Now Fishing Report.
Thank you, Gino. Remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. The time is now 6:38 on your Friday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. Calhoun County Sheriff deputies arrested 22-year-old Ivan Motouf Wednesday night.
Israel calls for more than 1 million Palestinians living in the northern part of the Gaza Strip to evacuate within 24 hours. I'm ABC's Faith Abube in Washington. Details coming up.
Take a look at the almanac for Victoria. Yesterday's high was 85 degrees, low 61 degrees, below normal on both counts for our average high and low, but close to that. 103 way back in 1926, a heat wave way back then, and so it can't get hot this time of year, but nowhere near that today. Rainfall still under. We need some rain around here. We're trying to find some. We'll see what we can find, and the cooler weather headed our way coming up later in your full forecast.
Here's a look at what to expect on Community Crossroads. We hear from Keep Victoria Beautiful, Moody Gardens. We also hear from the First United Methodist Church and Victoria Preservation.
Something to do with the colonial period, the Texas Republic period, very early Victoria. So we've got some very interesting characters from those periods.
We try to work it out so that it's a nice walk around in Evergreen Cemetery so that you're not going back and forth.
Good morning, 6:41 is the current time, and of course you heard about the eclipse that's happening tomorrow, so don't miss it. Here's what goes on with that. Earth right here where we are here, sun here, and the moon right in between, so when they're lined up just like this perfectly, it casts a shadow on the Earth's surface where that location is, and of course that's why we have the eclipse, a very rare event, so it's happening tomorrow. And speaking of that, it begins in Victoria at 10:26 a.m. Maximum will be the Ring of Fire look by 11:57 a.m. Ends at 1:37 p.m. So a pretty good while of eclipse taking its path over the South Texas region. So have a chance to view that, definitely do that. And of course, looking at the conditions for us, a few rain showers in the Gulf of Mexico south of our area here in the mid-Texas coast. Otherwise, quiet conditions around the entire state. A front to the north make its way into our region coming up tomorrow, probably the first part of the day, giving us some cooler temperatures behind it and some nice weather to follow. We'll talk about that and see how cool the temperatures will get later on in the full forecast 7-day outlook. Carolina?
Thank you, Trey. Israel's military urging more than 1 million people living in northern Gaza to leave the area within the next 24 hours. The evacuation alerts come amid Israel's retaliatory strikes against Hamas after the militants stormed Israeli neighborhoods a week ago, killing at least 1,200 people, including at least 22 Americans.
This morning, new signs that Israel may be on the verge of escalating its retaliatory strikes against Hamas with a ground offensive in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces on social media overnight, calling on all residents of Gaza City to evacuate their homes within the next 24 hours and move south for their own protection. The area under unrelenting and devastating Israeli airstrikes since Hamas militants crossed the border 7 days ago and brutally killed at least 1,200 people in Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken describing to ABC News horrifying images the Israeli government released showing some of the slaughtered victims.
A young infant riddled with bullets, a family hugging each other in a death embrace, having been burned to death. Beheaded soldiers, more. It almost defies human comprehension precisely because it's not human.
The Biden administration says it's working to free at least 17 Americans still missing, possibly being held as hostages by Hamas. Meantime, the administration beginning the evacuation of thousands of U.S. citizens stuck in Israel as the war intensifies.
We're working hard on this. We know there's a demand signal out there, and we're going to try the best we can to meet it.
The war already fueling a humanitarian disaster on the Gaza Strip. Hospitals at a breaking point. Palestinians trapped by the war, desperate for water, food, medicine, and electricity.
The situation is just unbelievable, catastrophic, and devastating for us.
And today, law enforcement agencies across the country are stepping up security after a former Hamas leader called for a global day of rage. So far, though, we are told no specific or credible threats have been reported. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
As we continue to follow the war in Israel, we're questioning the state of a synagogue in our own backyard. We asked Victoria Police if adding extra security to the Temple B'nai Israel in downtown Victoria is needed. In a statement, Chief Chuck Young said, quote, "We will continue to monitor the situation and make adjustments locally as needed," unquote. Calhoun County Sheriff deputies arrested 22-year-old Ivan Motu Wednesday night. He was arrested in Port Alto, Olivia. In the Port Alto, Olivia area, authorities tell us the suspect got into an altercation with deputies and paramedics. A child was also assaulted during the altercation. Motu faces 5 charges. He's in the Calhoun County Jail in lieu of a $150,000 bond. And after less than a month in prison, an El Campo fentanyl dealer has appealed his life sentence and is asking for a new trial. In August, a Wharton County jury found 77-year-old Lawrence Harold Jr. guilty of the delivery of a controlled substance, a first-degree felony. Wharton County District Attorney Don Allison told the El Campo Leader News that it is not likely Harold will win an appeal. The time is now 5:46 on your Friday morning. Still to come, just 7 million Americans have received the newly updated COVID-19 vaccine since its rollout. Okay, it's time to celebrate some birthdays. Happy birthday to Kason Ray. Happy birthday, I love you, from Grandma Brittany.
Happy birthday to Moses. Happy birthday, Dad. Hope you have a wonderful day today from the Silvas family.
And a big happy birthday to Daniel Sr. from your wife and children and grandchildren. We all love you very much.
And happy birthday to Mary Pearl from her mom, son, and brothers who love her so much.
And happy birthday to Ethan Lee. I wish my baby boy a happy 5th birthday. I love him with all my heart.
And happy birthday to Melvin. The whole family would like to send a huge birthday shout out to our oldest son. He turns 11 years old. We love you and love the young man you are becoming. We pray you have a wonderful day today. Love you always from your family.
And happy 12th birthday, Allie. Hope you have a wonderful day. We love you from your mom and sister, Jada. And
happy 17th birthday to Esperanza. Hope you have a good day. Love you lots from your family.
And he was a dancing star for a little while this season until he was the first to pack his shoes and go. Comedian and actor Matt Walsh is 59 today. Happy birthday.
And to see your birthday wish live on 25 News Now Sunrise, come to crossroadstoday.com, click on Born Under Home. You'll see the KVU Submit Your Birthday.
Okay, the time is now 6:47 on your Friday morning. Happy birthday if you're celebrating one today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good morning, happy Friday. Trey Mining here. It is 9 minutes away from the 7 a.m. hour. Temperatures in the 70s this morning. Mid to upper 70s along the immediate coast, almost near 80 degrees in Port O'Connor and down near Cedar Drift. Maybe a shower making its way into the coastal area. That's about it. Not expecting any rainfall today, keeping it mostly on the dry side. And definitely on the hot side to do. High temperatures well into the 90s with heat index values approaching the mid-90s by the afternoon. Be careful out there. And Port Lavaca starting off in the 70s and 80s to near 90 degrees at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Should be experiencing some plentiful sunshine. Same thing for Cuero, with high temperatures in the 80s to near 90 degrees with northerly winds coming up by tomorrow, bringing in the cooler and drier air, which will reduce our temperatures. Nothing in the way of rainfall today. Our hot temperatures though 91 degrees, and front coming through on Saturday, knocking us down to 70s for next week. Looking pretty good overall. Lows in the 50s. Very fall-like conditions for next week. Maybe the next rain chance coming our way by Thursday.
Only 7 million Americans have received the newly updated COVID-19 vaccine since its rollout. That's compared to 18 million receiving the newly updated COVID-19 vaccine during the same time last year. That's from the latest data from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the CDC. The vaccines are completely updated to target the coronavirus variants going around. Some health experts have gone so far to say it's not so much a booster, but a whole new immunization. Although 14 million vaccines were shipped to pharmacies and vaccination sites, there are reports of shortages. Another factor is the vaccine has now shifted to the private market, which means there are some snags with whether insurance covers it. That leads us to your viewer poll. You can scan the QR code on your screen to take part. We ask you, do you plan to get the new COVID-19 vaccine? Let's take a look. 40% of you say yes, and 60% of you say no. Thank you for taking part in our viewer poll. Mortgage rates are up for the 5th straight week. That's from a report by Freddie Mac. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage now averages 7.57%. That's a rise from 7.49% the prior week. Mortgage rates haven't been this high since December of 2000. 1 year ago, the 30-year fixed rate was 6.92%. Freddie Mac's chief economist says there's good news and bad news for potential home buyers. While the economy and incomes continue to grow, there are affordability constraints. That's due to a lack of homes for sale, keeping prices higher. Still to come on Sunrise News to know before you go. The Capitol Police say they are enhancing security throughout the Capitol complex because of the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Capitol Police say they are enhancing security throughout the Capitol complex because of the Israel-Hamas conflict. A statement from Capitol Police says they are not divulging all of the details about the resources they're putting into place for safety reasons, but some of what they'll be doing is going to be visible. Barriers now placed around the Capitol as Hamas calls for a day of rage today. The call comes days after the Palestinian militant group Hamas attacked Israeli communities near the Gaza Strip. At least 1,300 people in Israel were killed and about 3,300 are wounded. Detroit Lions linebacker Alex Anzalone says his parents are headed back to the U.S. from Israel safely amid the war. In a Thursday morning post on X, Anzalone thanked everyone who was praying for his family and their safety. The linebacker's parents were among a group of people from a Naples, Florida-based church on an overseas tour in Israel. Anzalone said, like many people, he would go online to search for any updates or signs that his parents were safe. City Council members voted down an ordinance to make Quincy, Illinois, a sanctuary city for the unborn Tuesday night. The ordinance aimed to prevent Planned Parenthood or any other clinic that performed abortion services from operating in that city. Before the meeting began, demonstrators on both sides gathered outside City Hall to support or oppose the measure. Multiple people had a chance to speak about how they felt about the ordinance. It was struck down in a 7-5 vote. Some council members said they even though they had support for the measure, they felt the city would become vulnerable to lawsuits and the potential loss of grant money. DeWitt County Commissioners will end the county's burn ban on October 22nd. DeWitt County Judge Daryl Fowler told the Yoakum Herald-Times they've had about 5 inches of rain in the county in the past 30 days. The burn ban was put into effect in DeWitt County July 24th. The Shiner Police Department has a new interim police chief. Wayne Denson was sworn in Thursday morning. Chief Denson is a former Lavaca County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace and was also a Shiner police officer from 1984 to 1989. He also succeeds Kevin Kelso, who resigned as Shiner Police Chief last week after nearly 2 years on the job. And we want to invite y'all to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and Android TV. Just search Crossroads Today Plus. And we do have time for a final check of our forecast with Trey.
And thank you so much, Carolina. Looking pretty good this weekend. High temperatures today well into the 90s with heat index value in the mid-90s, so be careful out there. In Port Lavaca, starting off with the 80s and 90s, near 90 degrees by the afternoon time, 4 o'clock. Same thing in Cuero, starting off with a few clouds and sunny skies throughout the day, hot temperatures, and the low 90s likely coming up area-wide today. Front comes through tomorrow, first half of the day. It cools us down and dries us out. Highs in the 70s for the majority of next week, with lows in the 50s coming up as well. That's going to be feeling really nice and very fall-like for next week. Next rain chance looks like it'll be coming our way toward Thursday with the next frontal system by then. Until then, enjoy the great weather this weekend. Fine, fair fall weather coming up for next week. So let's enjoy that as well with plentiful sunshine. Make it a great weekend and be safe out there and take care. Carolina?
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day and a start to your weekend. Don't forget about Turkey Fest and the solar eclipse tomorrow. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today, and join James, Dawn, Matt, Karina, and Gino today for 25 News Now at 5, 6, and 10, and Crossroads Football Live.